This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
The Hidden Killers Podcast.
With Tony Bruschi.
Jennifer Coffindaffer is with us, retired FBI Special Agent. We're going to talk about Maddi Kingsbury, who is still missing. And unfortunately, this far into it, I hate to be negative, but it's probably getting closer to a search and recovery operation than it is necessarily finding her alive, but one hopes and prays that that still is a possibility. Are we any closer in narrowing down suspects in this, or why haven't the authorities narrowed down or named any suspects as of our conversation here today?
Well, this is one of those cases that unfortunately the law enforcement is keeping tight to the vest in terms of listing any suspects. I think most individuals involved with the case that have been looking at the case, it's usually the significant other. Mm-hmm. And in this case, I think that is probably where law enforcement is spending the majority of their time to either rule him in or rule him out. Unfortunately, this has completely turned, as you said, to seemingly a recovery, asking for people to look in wells and, searching people's property in the way that they're doing. Mm-hmm. So, Tony, sadly, I don't think she will be recovered alive at this point.
And that's very, very sad to hear and to think about. With the possible suspects that are out there, I know they haven't listed who they believe is a suspect or anything of that nature. The boyfriend, or I know is the father of her children, but I don't believe they were married, correct?
Correct.
So I know he's made a statement a couple of weeks ago stating he had nothing to do with it. It did take a couple of weeks for that statement to come out, but being very quiet. Probably, I would guess, attorneys are advising him just shut up and don't say a word. But, I mean, is there any, it's easy to look at that and go, why isn't he saying anything? Why isn't he doing anything from the outside looking in? But on the inside looking out, it probably is the most advantageous for him at this moment, legally. Is there a reason for us to be looking at him any stronger and in any more of a microscope than what we know thus far out in public? And if there hasn't been an arrest yet of him or anything further, why is that? Why not? Why would this be going on for this long if they haven't found a reason for an arrest?
Well, Tony, I think they are looking closely at him. Mm-hmm. And I think they're trying to build a case, as I said, that will either exonerate mm-hmm. or end up finding him culpable for this. But it takes so much time, especially when he has been wise. Mm-hmm. He's not giving statements. He's not out in the public eye. He's not doing things that some of these other individuals do mm-hmm. That make it easier on law enforcement to know whether they were involved or not involved. Mm-hmm. So I think they're looking meticulously at the clues, but I think they've got a difficult case at this point, depending on what he did. They're going to be analyzing his laptop, what kind mm-hmm. of, or computer and phone, what type of searches did he do? Mm-hmm. This is always something that tends to be indicative before people commit crimes. They oftentimes research how to commit them. Mm-hmm. So I think they'll be looking at that. They're also going to be looking at his relationships with others. Did he have an extramarital, and they weren't married, but an extra relationship outside of his significant other? Mm-hmm. They're going to be interviewing anyone and everyone in terms of anything he may have said, mm-hmm. In terms of his unhappiness. All of these things take a lot of time, and just trying to really retrace exactly her last known whereabouts, those footprints that she has either digitally or physically.
I'm trying to understand why they deemed that he was not able to take care of his own children. Can you make any sense of that, why they took the children away from him if he is indeed the father of these kids?
Well, I believe that's because they do have some evidence in some nature, and they are truly concerned. Imagine this, Tony. Imagine if you, as a law enforcement entity, had some clues, maybe not probable cause yet. In other words, not enough to arrest somebody, but you have information that you're working in that direction, that the clues are leading you to, and you don't let family services or child protection services know. And those children are turned over to him. And we've seen it time and time again, Tony.
Yeah.
And then he hurts those children.
Sure.
They're not going to take those risks. So I would believe law enforcement is working with child protection services to give them, the clues they needed to say, okay, we need to look at this really hard. And that's what they did.
And they're able to do that without having a probable cause yet for an arrest, or that the clues that are on the back end are strong enough where that can be justified to take the children away from someone without an arrest or anything of that nature?
Well, no, not exactly, because the authority over those children, they made their own summation based on how he acted when they went to go get the children.
Okay.
This whole situation with the car seats and the whole situation with how he was acting and refusing to give them up. And that was their reasoning. I would just believe, though, that if this was just your average person with not the factor that there's a missing mother involved in this, that those small details wouldn't have been enough to rule in favor of keeping the children from their father. So that's what makes me think, Tony, that on the back side of this, something we're not seeing, that perhaps there were some conversations.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Bruschi.
Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI special agent. Thank you so much for your insight into this case. Always appreciate having you on. Be sure to press subscribe wherever you're downloading podcasts. You don't miss any breaking updates or discussions on the cases we're following for you right here. I'm Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.